Alright, today we'll be going over how to UV upholstered furniture so that it will accept multiple different textures that are tiling. The first thing I'd like to point out, and of course this is just a basic, is that this is an easily mirrorable piece. So what I suggest is you work smarter and not harder and only UV one side, and when you're done, mirror it over and flip the UVs. So for now, since we're just going to be focusing on the upholstered pieces, I'm going to turn off all the hardware. And what we'll do is we'll select all the pieces that'll be on one UV grid, and we'll assign it a UV unwrap. Alright, so as you can see, I've already cut everything properly. But just to work on it, what we'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll mess one up. Now, one thing about why I selected everything and did that is because we can then go through and select not just the one piece at a time, but maybe two pieces at a time, and keeping them separate is important because then we can isolate them. Now we'll just work on this seat cushion today for this example, but what I'll do, since I already have this one done, is I'll go in to the UV editor, and I'll go ahead and mess everything up, just reset all the UVs. Alright. Now before I really get started on this, I do want to mention one of the most important things that'll help you with UVing, and that is making sure that your geometry is made with UVing in mind. That means keeping proper edge loops and having edges where the UV seams will end up being. Now, the interesting thing about furniture whenever it comes to UVing is that they're similar properties. What you're doing with UVing is you're cutting a flat texture and putting it on a three-dimensional surface. And with upholstery, what they do is they cut flat pieces of cloth and then put stuff in between them and lay them over frames so that they then have this three-dimensional surface. So essentially what we'll do is we'll go in everywhere that there is a seam on the actual piece, and that'll be where our UV seams are. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these. And this will probably be the longest part of the whole process for you, is just cutting these UV seams. Sometimes it might be easier to use some of the selection tools on the right, but if you do it properly, then you should just be able to select edge loops by double clicking them. Now on the actual geometry itself, I did not model a seam right there, but it is fairly hidden and is also where a seam would most likely exist if that was a seen part of it. So we'll go ahead and cut that so there's no warping going on. So let's just go ahead and let that auto unwrap, and you can see it's mostly done everything we needed already. But let's go back and fix this one mistake we made. All right. So now everything should officially be cut by where the seams exist on the product in real life. Now that we have those here, we'll go through and check the UVs. As you see on the piece on the right, everything is oriented all the same. So it's really important that we select the faces themselves. Looks like I have one last cut to make here. Alright, so we select the individual faces themselves. It's easier just to keep select by element on for this part. And make sure that they're all rotated properly. Now it should be easily identifiable in here, but it's always nice to keep the UV checker on and make sure that it's aligned in the physical space as well, in case you have a complex shape and it's kind of hard to tell if they're aligned or not. Now notice I'm not really bothering to move them out of place right now, so much as I am just trying to align them properly. And as you see with this piece right here, looks like it'd be okay over here, but we want it to be oriented the same as if we're looking at these. So we'll rotate that to where it's all good. Good on that side as well. All right. So let's do one last little bit of alignment. We've got this piece up front that needs rotated. And now everything should be aligned for the most part. Alright, now that we have that, there's one last thing we need to do, and that is make sure that everything is in line with the other pieces. So we can go ahead and close that window and unselect that actual piece. Instead, we'll select the entire group, or just whichever pieces we want to keep on the same UV plane. Open back up the UV editor, and you'll see now it includes both. So we'll click everything and scroll down to the arrange elements. Now make sure that it rotates off so it doesn't mess up what we just did as far as making sure they're oriented properly. And you got two options. You can use Pack Custom, which will take it back down into the 1:1 UV square, or if you're trying to keep it a certain scale, you can do Pack Together. If you do Pack Together, it just makes everything the same size, as you can see here, and that ensures that across the entire piece, or the entire part of that one texture, that there's no one part that has a textile density different than the rest. So we typically do that, and then once that's done, if you need to adjust the texture anymore, you would just go into the material and then change the bitmap scale. All right. So that is how you go through and UV upholstered furniture. It's very similar to how they would do it in real life, as far as the cutting along the seams. And this way, whenever you go and apply a tileable texture, it'll look natural, as if it was actually draped across it, and you can interchange it with others without having any issue.